Hey everyone, here's a new collection update. This will be me talking about my metal music CDs. Not just any kind of metal, but strictly death metal. Let's start from alphabetically A. The first one I have here is Autopsies, Severed Survival. It's the Peaceful remastered version. I really love the original artwork even more so than this new artwork, and I also reviewed this already. So I'll put a link to that review in the description below. This is an awesome 1989 death metal CD album. Then I have Autopsies Mental Funeral, another Peaceful release, and it's still awesome. I don't think it's quite as good as Severed Survival, but a lot of people probably will disagree with me. I love the artwork. I have a little technical death metal, Blood Soaked, and their album Sadistic Deeds and Grotesque Memories. This is a one-man band. That is awesome. And I also have their album, that was their second album, so I have their third album, The Death of Hope. Another really good one. Now let us start on one of my favorite bands, Cannibal Corpse, and their album Eaten Back to Life. This is a re-release, I believe. Yeah, because it has the live track on there. This is a really good one. It's going to be in an upcoming review of mine for this album. And of course, if you have Eaten Back to Life, you've got to have Butchered at Birth. That is some gnarly-ass cover artwork. This is another re-release, and it's not as good as the first one. It's probably Barnes's weakest album of the four that he was in for Cannibal Corpse, but I still love the hell out of it. Then I have Tomb of the Mutilated, another Cannibal Corpse album, and I think this is not a re-release. It probably is, for my luck, but I love Tomb of the Mutilated. The first three songs are the best, in my opinion. The Cryptic Stench is good. Beyond the Cemetery is also really good. Then we have The Bleeding. Now, this is supposed to be a censored version, but it's not censored. I love it. I got to this at FYE a long time ago, and it says censored version right there on the back in the black and white, but it's uncensored. It even says on the disc that it's censored. It's funny. Then I have Cannibal Corpse's Vile, and I was an idiot a long time ago, and I took out the DVD that came with it, I think. Yeah, I did. Because I just wanted the CD. I was too picky back then. Vile is a great start for George Fisher. Then I have Gore Obsessed. I think this is one of the first ones I bought from them. And it's not the best Cannibal Corpse album, but it's definitely not the worst. Then we have a Skeletal Domain, which I'll be honest is really good. The start of this album with the whole loud noises kind of reminded me of Shredded Humans and Eaten Back to Life with the engine going. It's just revs up, and then it never lets go when it starts. Then we have Cattle Decapitation, The Harvest Floor. This is pretty much an animal activist band. How they think it's wrong the way we treat animals, and it really works well for the type of theme. But a lot of people think it's about cattle mutilation. It's really not. It's trying to say a message, and it's more grindcore than anything. I have 2 copies of this. This is the original Scream Bloody Gore. I love this album. I've also reviewed it. It's just a great album, to be honest. And I also have the re-release, which sounds amazing. And I had to get them all. So I have Death's Leprosy, which is a really good album. Not as good as the first, in my opinion. Then we have Spiritual Healing, which is a really good album, especially the first song, Living Monstrosity. I know all the lyrics to that one, pretty much. Then I have Human, which is another really good one. I love the whole change they started having with Spiritual Healing, and then Human kind of defined them. Individual Thought Patterns, which is another really good one. I love The Philosopher. Symbolic, another really good one. Classic stuff. And then I have The Sound of Perseverance, their last album before Chuck Schuldiner died. Yeah, it's just a really good album. Now back to more technical stuff. I have Decapitated and their album Winds of Creation. This is their first one, and they are awesome. And they're also awesome in Nihility, which I love the song Spheres of Madness. Then I have Deicide and their self-titled album. My God, this album is one of my favorites. I love the artwork, I love the music. And then I have Legion, which is actually not my favorite Deicide album. It's the first one, that is. And this is still awesome, though. And I have To Hell with God, which is not their best, but definitely not their worst. They got pretty bad at one point. Then I have one of my favorite newer bands, Gruesome Man's, their album Savage Land. And it got a huge crack on the case. I have to get a new case now. I love this album. The song Savage Land is so awesome. Trapped in Hell is good too. I also have their second one, Dimensions of Horror, which is an EP, and I think this is even better. Then I have Immolation and their album Failures for Gods, and it's just a badass album. I love Immolation. I love them so much I got their newest album, A Distorting Light, Atonement. The Distorting Light, its intro is just catchy as fuck. Then I have Massacre and their album From Beyond. This is a classic album. Their newest one, Back From Beyond, is not as good. This is iconically catchy. Then I have Morbid Angel and their album Altars of Madness. This is like on a par for me with some of Deicide's work. I think it is the best album by them. Covenant is another really good one, which I actually also have. Covenant. Then I have Nile, Annihilation of the Wicked. I love pretty much all the songs on this album, probably all of them. This is their masterpiece, in my opinion. Then I have Nile's newest album, What Should Not Be Unearthed. Not their best work. It's still awesome, but I don't think it's their best. Then I have the Nocturnus demos. That's pretty cracked, the case, but I have had this for a long time. Obituaries, World's Demise. I need to get new cases, man. These are so old. Obituaries, The Executioner's Returned. Dude, this is a good one. It has the guy from Deicide in it. I don't quite remember his name, but it's like on the tip of my tongue. I have their self-titled album, their newest one, Obituary, which is a great album. And now we're on to the first ever death metal band on the scene, I believe, in my opinion. Possessed, and their album Seven Churches, which is a classic album. I've also reviewed this. I'll leave links to that in the description below. This is their second album, Beyond the Gates. It's also a really good album. Then I have Sarcophagus Inri, one of my favorite death metal albums. I don't think this is a great quality because all it does is go whenever there's music playing. It has like a skipping sound effect, but it's not skipping. It's really weird. But I love this album. I also have their album Hate, which is a really good one in my opinion, even though they have the fake drums. I have 6 Feet Under's Death Rituals because I'm a Chris Barnes fan, and I don't hate his music. I have Suffocations of the Dark Light, which is their newest album. It's sick. It's awesome. Torture Killers, Swarm, a really good one. It has a lot of, I think it's all Chris Barnes. So that I love this album. It's actually really groovy sounding. And finally I might get rid of this one, I'm not sure. Whitechapel's This Is Exile. I might keep it. I'm not the biggest Whitechapel fan. I got it a long time ago. I mean, long time ago. So those are all my death metal CDs. I also have a thrash metal selection to pick from, but I love death metal more than thrash metal. Lion Brian Gatto, host of Horror Show Entertainment. Make sure to like my Facebook page in the description below and leave comments and subscribe.